What's up guys, my name's Hunter Strasser. Today I'm going to walk you through the gear I used on a little Texas-Oklahoma country run this past weekend. Stick around. So I was out doing 2 shows with a country artist, Craig Wayne Boyd. I was subbing in his band, and it was really cool to get to play with the guys and to learn his music and to get to do a couple shows. When I was picking the gear to take with me, I wanted to be pretty specific about trying to get the most versatility I could out of a pretty small package, as well as covering the sounds authentically that were on his record. It was really cool to get to jump in on the gig, especially with no rehearsal. Both gigs went great. Keep an eye out for a video coming soon about how I prepared for this gig and how I prepare for most gigs. I think it's really interesting to see how different people get ready for different types of things. So keep an eye out for that. As far as the sounds that I was looking for, I needed to cover very modern pop rock sounds as well as pretty traditional country tones. So let's go through what I took with me on the road. So we'll start with guitars. I took a Tele, of course. This is my Fender road-worn Mexican Tele that I have modded greatly. It has Novak pickups, redid all the electronics, and put a Mastery bridge on it, which you don't see a ton of these. The other guitar that I took with me was a Bluesman Vintage Sedan. I took this with me partially to cover a lot of the rock stuff, and then also because I didn't really know what I was getting into with the venues. And I've been to a lot of places that have just horrific power, and then single coils are just an unpleasant thing to use for the rest of the night. So I wanted to have that just in case we got somewhere that wasn't great. It ended up being fine with the Tele. And this is what I used on most of the set, but I did use that on a couple of the heavier rock songs to get some more beefy rhythm sounds and then some a little bit more soaring lead sounds than the Tele was getting. So let's hear some noises. We're running through my full board and the Car Artemis over there with a Beyerdynamic M160 on it. And that's actually the mic that I used at both gigs. I just bring it with me everywhere, and if the front of house guy doesn't mind or likes that better than what he has with him, then we use that, and it worked great. So, just a quick look at why I took the Tele. That country sound that we all want. So right now we're hearing a little bit of reverb from the Flint, a slapback from the Timeline, and compression from the Exotic SP compressor. So that's the middle pickup. Here's the bridge. I have the volume pretty low on the amp, which is similar to where it was for one of the gigs. The first gig was outdoors, so I was able to crank it a little bit more. But currently the amp's in 15 watt mode and pretty tame volume-wise. So it's not getting a lot of drive from the amp, it's still pretty clean. Another reason that I took this guitar is because if something broke on it, Teles are just really easy to fix. I could take this guitar apart and put it back together in 20 minutes, which is just a great thing about Tellys. It's a great road guitar. It's pretty, I mean, it's beat up from being a road worn, but also beat up from me just existing with it. So it's a great road guitar. So here's what the Telly sounds like with the J-Rocket GTO, which honestly was on for most of the gig. I just used the volume knob to kind of dial in where I wanted the sound to be. So here is wide open in the middle position with the GTO. And here's the bridge. If I dial it back a little bit and put it on the bridge, so the other gain sound that we can look at real quick with this, that I used for most of the heavier rhythm stuff, was the Dude. I used that for some lead stuff with a pretty hefty volume boost coming from the Stomp. Really, it did nothing other than just boost the volume. I have an EQ with just like 5 dB of boost, and that worked perfectly for solos or for lead lines that I needed to poke out a little bit more. Just got me right on top of the mix. And it makes the sound guy not have to chase me around as much or miss when I'm playing something that needs to be heard. He can just nest me. So this is the Bluesman Vintage Sedan again. It's 2 humbuckers wound by them. It's great. It's made of pine, which is really cool. It's really light. Neck feels great. Yeah, it being really light is another reason that I like it a lot for gigs, especially longer gigs. If it's like 3-4 hours and there's no break and you're up there, even the difference between like a kind of light and a really light guitar goes a long way. So let's hear what it sounds like just clean. That's middle position, clean. And then neck. And bridge. A lot of what I used this guitar on this specific gig for was just with the Dude for pretty heavy rhythm stuff. So let's hear what that sounds like. I haven't changed the settings on the Dude at all, so I didn't really change any settings on the amp or the board when I switched guitars. So that's what that sounds like. Pretty rockin', not crazy overdriven, but enough to really start to push and feel nice in what was just a 4-piece band. So not getting too fuzzy or too mid-rangey. The Dude just sits really nicely, honestly. So I used it for that kind of stuff. Just to hear it, this is with the GTO, still in the bridge position. Really full, really big sounding. As far as pedals go for this gig, I had some things that stayed on for most of the time, like the Flint, just on, didn't touch it, except for using the tremolo, which was just a really basic harmonic tremolo, so this is without it. with the trem. There was a couple lead lines that had like a nice trem part on it. It's really nice. The timeline, I pretty much switched between two settings. The slapback, which is honestly really subtle slapback, and then the really basic tape delay. So for most stuff I would switch between those two, and then there was a couple songs where I would put on a longer tape. When I was just filling a little bit more space. But this was a pretty low pedal use set. I'll show a picture of how I have the Morningstar MC6 set, mostly to control the HX Stomp. I had a few different settings in that, like the boost that I mentioned, doing the tuner, switching a B3 setting on for one part, and then one button was just to switch the timeline between the two settings that I was mainly using. I used the light speed a couple times, mostly just to bring some cleaner parts up a little bit and get them out, but wasn't really doing any drive. Here's what that sounds like. That's clean, and with the light speed. So by itself, it sounds like it has a little bit of hair on it, but it's pretty clean. That just helps it push through the mix a little bit more. Like I said, the amp is the Carr Artemis. It's great. It's their Vox-ish style amp with a Beyerdynamic M160 on it now and on the gigs. So you're hearing it the same way Front of House was hearing it all weekend. So I think it sounds really good, especially for this stuff. It's a nice mix of a Fender-y, Voxy sound, which works really well for this kind of music. I was really happy with the way that things turned out for this gig, and with the choices that I made to bring this gear. I think everything worked the way I wanted it to. Even if I didn't end up using certain things that were on the board, they did great. If you want to see more videos about the different types of gigs I've got and the different types of gear and decisions that I make for these different things, let me know in the comments. And like and subscribe, that really helps me out. If there's anything you'd like to see me talk about or see me cover, just write in the comments and I'll probably see it and respond. So, see you next time.